You know, when a man decides to leave a relationship, it's rarely a sudden event. He doesn't just wake up one morning, pack his bags, and walk out the door. It's a much slower, quieter process. A gradual drift that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. He leaves in pieces, bit by bit. First, his emotions retreat. Then, his presence becomes a ghost in the room. And finally, his attention completely vanishes. The breakup doesn't actually begin on the day he officially ends things. No, it starts long before that. It starts on the day you look at him and realize you no longer feel seen. That's the real beginning of the end. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 silent signs that he's already checked out, that the connection you once shared is fading away. The first sign is that your conversations start to feel empty. It's a strange and subtle shift. You're talking, words are being exchanged, but nothing is landing. He hears the sounds you're making. He might even nod along, but he's not truly listening. It's like talking to a beautifully crafted statue. He's physically there. His eyes are on you, but his mind, his heart, they're a million miles away. You'll share something exciting that happened at work, or a worry that's been on your mind, and his response is a generic, "Oh wow," or "That's crazy." There's no follow-up question, no genuine curiosity, no emotional investment. The dialogue is hollow, a mere echo of the deep, connected conversations you used to have. You're no longer sharing a space of mutual understanding. You're just speaking into a void. The second sign, and this one can be particularly painful, is when he starts choosing peace over connection. What does that mean? It means he actively avoids any topic that could potentially lead to a disagreement or an emotional discussion. Silence becomes his shield. He'd rather sit in a tense, uncomfortable quiet than risk having an honest, difficult conversation. Maybe you try to bring up something that's bothering you about the relationship, and he shuts it down with a, "Let's not get into this right now," or "I'm too tired." He's not trying to find a resolution. He's trying to avoid the conflict altogether. This isn't the healthy picking your battles that mature couples do. This is a consistent pattern of avoidance. Honesty feels too difficult, too draining, so he opts for the path of least resistance, which is silence. But that silence isn't peaceful. It's the sound of a bridge collapsing between you. True connection requires the courage to navigate discomfort together. When he consistently chooses to avoid it, he's choosing to let the connection die. This leads us to the third sign. You start to feel like you're re-bothering him. This is a devastating feeling. You, the person who is supposed to be his partner, his confidant, his safe space, suddenly feel like an interruption. You'll go to share a funny story, or ask for a hug, and you're met with a sigh, a glance at the clock, or a sense of impatience. His energy screams, "Is this important?" You begin to second-guess yourself before you even approach him. You start to censor your thoughts, your needs, your very presence, because you're afraid of being a nuisance. Love should never, ever feel like an interruption. In a healthy partnership, your presence is a welcome addition, not a distraction. When you start to feel like you need to schedule an appointment just to get his undivided attention, or when you feel like your needs are an inconvenience, it's a giant, flashing sign that he is no longer invested in making you feel valued and cherished. You're becoming an item on his to-do list, not the person he can't wait to come home to. The fourth silent sign is that the future is no longer a shared language between you. Remember when you two would dream together, you'd talk about the house you wanted to buy, the places you'd travel, the names you liked for future kids or pets. The future was this exciting, collaborative project. Now, when the future comes up, it's different. Maybe he avoids the topic completely, changing the subject whenever you bring up long-term plans. Or perhaps he starts talking about his future using I instead of we. "I want to move to a new city," or "I'm thinking about changing careers." You're no longer automatically included in his vision for what's next. The shared dream has fractured into 2 separate paths. It's a subtle but powerful indicator that he no longer sees you in his long-term picture. He's mentally planning a life that might not have a space for you in it, and that's a silence that speaks volumes. The fifth sign is one that's as painfully common in our modern world. He keeps his phone closer than he keeps you. His phone has become his primary source of engagement, his escape, his closest companion. You'll be sitting right next to him on the couch, trying to connect, and his attention is completely absorbed by the glowing screen in his hand. He laughs at memes you can't see, has entire conversations in group chats you're not a part of, and scrolls endlessly through feeds that are more interesting to him than the person in the room with him. It's not just about him being on his phone, it's about what the phone represents. It's a barrier, a digital wall he has erected between the two of you. When you try to talk to him, he gives you half answers while his eyes are still glued to the screen. The device that's meant to connect him to the world is actively disconnecting him from you. When his digital life consistently takes precedence over his real life with you, it's a clear sign that his priorities have shifted, and you are no longer at the top of the list. Number 6 is when affection becomes rare. Notice the word, not gone, just rationed. The spontaneous hugs in the kitchen, the hand-holding while you walk, the casual kiss just because, they start to dwindle. Affection becomes something that only happens on a schedule, or when it's expected, like a quick peck before leaving for work. It loses its warmth, its spontaneity. It feels performative, like he's going through the motions because he feels he has to. It's no longer a natural expression of his love and desire for you. You might even find yourself initiating all the physical contact, and when you do, it feels one-sided, as if he's merely tolerating it rather than reciprocating. Physical touch is a fundamental language of love, and when it's being rationed, it's like he's putting your emotional connection on a strict diet, starving it slowly until there's nothing left. And that brings us to the 7th and final sign, which is perhaps the most profound and hardest to articulate. You can feel him, but you can't reach him. He's physically present. You can see him, you can touch his arm, you can hear his voice, but there's an invisible wall between you. You can feel the distance in the space between his words. You can see the emotional vacancy in his eyes. You're living with a ghost. You're in the same house, maybe even the same bed, but you feel utterly alone. You try to connect, to break through, to find that man you fell in love with, but it's like reaching for smoke. He's there, but he's not. This is the culmination of all the other signs, the empty conversations, the avoidance, the feeling of being a bother, all leads to this heartbreaking reality where you are side by side with a stranger. You see, when a relationship is dying, it doesn't always go out with a bang. There isn't always a big, dramatic fight or a shocking betrayal. More often than not, it doesn't scream, it goes quiet. It's the silence that is the most deafening. It's the slow, creeping quiet that suffocates the love, the connection, and the joy. Recognizing these signs is not about placing blame. It's about seeing the truth. It's about empowering yourself with awareness so you can make a choice to try and rebuild, or to acknowledge that it's time to let go and find a place where you are truly seen, heard, and cherished. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that helps us navigate the complexities of life and love. Your support means the world. Take care.